It ends up being a nasty story because he ruins it.
He ruins it, right?
He himself ruins it.
A nasty story or a nasty business?
It's got different names. So we have a nasty story, a nasty business, a nasty anecdote.
Oh, there's a third name.
An unfortunate situation.
Why should anybody read it?
Well, if you think you are a good person, especially if you are in a high-ranking position in society and you think you are a socialist, people-loving person, then you should read this book. Because what you think about yourself does not necessarily always come true when you're put to the test.
For me, the book is about the delusions that we can have as humans. That we know what other people want, what their wishes are. It's also about the illusion of morality.
Okay, so A Nasty Story is a short story by Dostoevsky, and for me is part of this Penguin Classics book. It says Fyodor Dostoevsky, The Gambler and Other Stories, and it's part of the other stories in my copy.
Yeah, I have an old book. We've already reviewed a book from this book that I read. It does have The Gambler, but also A Nasty Story.
Okay, so let's get to the story. This story begins with three people having a conversation. And now these are not just normal three people. These are three people of high-ranking positions in that period of time in Russia. Right?
So we've got Stepan. Who has the birthday gathering. He's turning 65. And you've got Ilyich and we've got Simon. Stepan has invited his subordinates, both generals, to his sort of birthday gathering for his 65th birthday.
And they start talking about themselves and their ideals. And then we see that Stepan, he's the kind of guy who doesn't want much in life. He just wanted to own his house and he's got it. He didn't have all these profound ideas of saving humanity and saving society and the future. He didn't have any of that. However, this is where Ivan Ilyich comes in. He is the guy who says, you know what? I don't really care about materials and stuff. I think we should work towards bettering humanity and philanthropy and love of humans and kindness to anybody who is below us in rank. And the other two, they don't really care about it. This is one of the funniest stories I have read from Dostoevsky. One of the funniest stories I've ever read. Ilyich eventually leaves and he ends up walking towards his house.
Yeah, this is important to the story because when they're having this discussion about philanthropy and, he's saying...
What is philanthropy?
So that is the love, the desire to be kind to other humans and to care about the welfare of others.
So in today's terms, do we call that like socialism?
Maybe. Yeah. Simon and Stepan are quite dismissive of Ilyich's sort of suggestions that, we're all equal and that it's 11:30 and saying like it's time to go. So as they're leaving, Ilyich, as he goes to pick his coat up, he realizes that his coat is much better than Simon's coat. Simon's coat is quite rugged and not as clean, whereas Ilyich's coat is fine and it's of good quality. And then he walks out and he sees the carriage is gone with the carriage driver.
What's the point of him realizing that his coat is better? What does that tell us?
Well, it tells us that he's already thinking about status and class. He already perceives himself as better than Simon because his coat is better, is of a better quality.
So although he talks about his ideas and equality, when it comes to normal living, he's not that person.
That's important because when he is in his mind, he does not see everybody equal. He says his tongue is saying equality. Yeah. His brain is not saying equality because from the moment that he's there, he notices the inequality in class and in what they're wearing.
Yeah. So he ends up walking towards his house, and this is, he's had a few drinks, maybe, I think,
He's already tipsy.
He's already tipsy, and he's walking down this dark path, And then at some point he realizes there is in the distance, there is a house and there's this party and celebration. And then he realizes actually it's the wedding of one of the people below him, one of his
subordinates.
Subordinate.
Can I just also add that as he's walking, it's very cold, and he's thinking, well, I'm enjoying this actually. And then he sees these wooden houses. He refers to these houses, the houses of simpletons. And simpletons would mean peasants, normal people. So
derogatory, right?
It's derogatory, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Because again, it shows in his mind, he's already seen that division in class, and he's got a name for these people who he himself sees below him.
And I think back in time in Russia, it was not customary for someone in his rank to attend the wedding of someone below him.
He's the VIP.
He is the VIP, and those guys whose the wedding's going on, they don't expect to see him, someone like his position, to attend their wedding. This would be like if you imagine a politician, right, in power, in government, when they attend the ethnic minorities festivals, right, and they broadcast it in the media.
Some time ago, a couple in England were having a wedding, and they sent an invitation, I think, to the Queen. As a joke, and the Queen of England, Elizabeth, did attend their wedding. It was a bigger deal. The media was all over it. Everybody, I knew about it, and I didn't know the couple.
So the couple, they didn't expect the Queen to turn up.
No.
But when the Queen does turn up, they think, wow, so humble of her to turn up to our wedding. And this is what happened in this story, where Ilyich, he's looking at from a distance. He sees this wedding, and he thinks to himself in his mind. And now we see what goes on in his mind. He's thinking, you know what? I had this conversation with Stepan, and he didn't believe me when I said, being equality and being kind to people below us. What if I attend this wedding? They're going to talk about me for generations to come. They're going to say, our wedding day, Ilyich turned up. What a humble, nice person. He turned up and he made our day.
He's like, how can I show everyone that I think of them as equal to me? And this is the best way to do it.
But what is interesting here, and this is the psychology part, is when Ilyich is thinking of attending this wedding, he's not thinking about them. He's thinking about how they perceive him. It's all about him. It's not really about them anymore. We see these thoughts where he's thinking, if I attend this, they're going to say, what a humble guy. Now, humbleness here is not the humbleness we appreciate. It comes out of arrogance. And these are the contradictions of human psychology that Dostoevsky realized.
He actually says, the groom will go back to the office and say, he might be a strict boss or something like that, but he's a good man at heart. So that's
He is a good man at heart because he attended my wedding.
And he sees everybody as equal.
Story goes downhill when Ilyich actually attends the wedding, because what he thought would happen in his mind does not happen in reality.
When he goes in, he sees them dancing and everyone's having fun. And as soon as he walks in, the place just goes dead.
Yeah, let's not forget that Ilyich is a general, and this person is his subordinate. So there is a sense of maybe some underlying fear towards him from his subordinates because he's got so much power. Now, we're not talking about, a democratic society at the time. They had so much power over people below them, these generals. So when he does actually attend the wedding, the place goes quiet and they just freak out. Like, what the hell's going on? What is this guy doing here? Even Ilyich, he gets nervous. He doesn't know what to do because he thought he's going to be welcomed. But what he doesn't realize is when people fear you, you're in a position of fear and authority. How do you expect turning up to their event and expect them to celebrate you?
Again, it's about the illusion of equality, where he has the illusion that when he walks in, they see him as he sees himself in his mind. Before he goes in, he prepares these jokes that he's going to tell them. One of the jokes is about the bride, because he knows he goes in, the bride's going to be shy. So in his mind, he's like, right, so I'm going to make a joke. As I'm leaving towards in, I'm going to say, well, I'll be back in 9 months. To be the godfather, because he's like, well, you know what, and then he says to himself, he's like, well, they're like rabbits, they breed like rabbits anyway, so she's probably going to have a child or a baby in her belly in 9 months' time. So again, even when he's making the joke, He's still thinking about the inequality in his mind. The simpletons, they breed like rabbits, so they're going to have babies. But he goes in, he doesn't make the joke.
Things don't go his way, and at first he tolerates them, but at some point he loses his tolerance, and he gets drunk, and then he ends up being a burden on the whole wedding hosts. He gets insulted, or he finds them insulting, right?
Well, he becomes annoyed by them because he thinks he's doing them a favor.
And that's the heart of the matter, because deep down he believed that him going there is doing them a favor.
Because he sees himself as superior.
So what Dostoevsky is trying to say is, what people say about equality and all this good stuff and social liberation and all these kind of things that we like to hear today, people can say it. But just because they say it doesn't mean they believe it.
This is such a good book for any activist to read. Anybody who fights for a cause. It makes you realize that we always have that illusion, especially if you're a first world country, that you are superior to other people. And no matter how much you try to fight for that equality, in your mind, there are going to be instances where you still see yourself above them. So, shall we move on to the questions?
Yeah.
My question is, did you find any similarities between characters, any of the characters in this story, and any of other Dostoevsky's characters in other stories?
I'm a big fan of the Notes from the Underground. I think I could say that's my favorite Dostoevsky book in terms of psychology. I found some similarities between Ivan Ilyich and the Underground Man, who doesn't have a name in the book. They are complicated characters. They contradict themselves. Do you find any similarities between Ilyich and any other character?
There are similarities between Ilyich and Raskolnikov because the way they imagine things to happen is very different when it comes to their actions. So once they execute what they want to do, it's very different to how they imagined it. What is nasty about the business, and for whom, do you think?
That's a good question. Although he approached it from a perspective of a great event, me turning up to their event they're gonna talk about me for generations because it's gonna be a celebrated story, but it actually ends up being a nasty story because he ruins it.
He ruins it, right?
He himself ruins it because he's so self-absorbed and he's so thinking about himself and his image for years to come. He's not even thinking about them. He ends up staying there for the night. He becomes so messed up and drunk, and he gets so sick that he just becomes unconscious, right? And they have to look after him for the night. And the groom and the bride, they only have one bed, and they had to give that to Ilyich. And their mom, is it the bride's mom or the groom's mom? The groom's mom ends up looking after him all night.
While she has diarrhea and he farts all night.
While she has a bad stomach all night.
But even in the morning, the soap that he uses to wash his face is made for the bride and groom. So it's like a little soap that has, it's just so special. Like, he uses everything that is special for them. From champagne, to their bed, to their soap, everything.
Definitely read it. It's a short story. You can read it in a day, in a setting.